Today on Expert Showcase, we're going behind the episode with Kim Butler, who has been talking with us today about what to do if you're working harder than your money is.
And welcome to Behind the Episode. And I messed it up. You know what, Mark? For people who are watching, they're like,
man, you just blew your track record of pointing in the right direction.
Exactly. So over here is our great interviewer, Dr. Mark Kosman, and right above me is our awesome guest for today, Kim Butler. And without any further ado, before the ado and all the other fun stuff, Mark, I'm going to save me from myself and throw it up to you so we can get this Behind the Episode started and I can take a breath.
All right. So for all our new visitors to the show, let me just quickly orient them to how Behind the Episode works. Kim, you and I are going to have a little chat about your background and how you got all this great knowledge about making your money work harder. Those of you who've got some money that you want working harder, stay tuned till the end of Behind the Episode because they're going to play the episode, and you'll get a lot of great information that Kim and I just went over in our chat and in our interview, where she taught us 3 things you really want to know if you want your money to be working harder than you are. So, Kim. Let me finish orienting the audience. See, I got myself distracted. So while you and I are talking, Chris is taking notes on screen that the audience can see, and then we're going to wrap up our conversation at a certain point and flip it over to Chris, who's going to kind of give us some feedback, some of the teachable moments and what he heard in our discussion for the benefit of our audience, which are all coaches and consultants looking to better position themselves and get more business and, you know, get more visibility on the web. So without further ado, Kim, tell me a little bit about how you got here. In the episode, people will hear that you were a certified financial planner, right? But I'm going to let you take it from there and tell us how you got to this focus of expertise now.
Sure. So right out of college, I had a few years at a bank, got my CFP designation, and ran with that for about 5 years. And I had a really nice practice. But at some point, I realized that all this financial planning that I was doing, and this was before the web, was wrong. I mean, the information was wrong going in. It was wrong coming out. We were making assumptions about people's retirement age, what income they were going to earn. We were asking them questions that they had no clue to answer, but then they were throwing us an answer. We were throwing it into a computer program. And whether you do it for free on the web today or you pay an advisor, frankly, a financial plan is a false sense of peace of mind. And that became not acceptable to me. So I started looking around at a lot of my wealthier clients. A lot of them were business owners. I lived in Scottsdale, Arizona at the time. None of them were funding their 401ks. None of them were prepaying their mortgages. None of them were losing money in the stock market. None of them were storing wealth at a bank. They were storing it at life insurance companies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I just thought, you know, everything that I've been taught is wrong. Not maybe everything, but a good 80 to 90% of it. And so I started paying attention more to what these other people were doing, and I coined a term called prosperity economics. And so that is what we preach, that's what we practice. We have 7 principles of prosperity. We use it as an opportunity filter for absolutely everything that we take a look at, and we now have 3 solid solutions for the things that most people want with their money. They want a place to store cash, they want an investment that creates cash flow, and they want a different kind of investment to grow. And that's, I think, one of the biggest problems that people have is they try to get one investment to do all 3 jobs, and it cannot.
Interesting.
You can't have an investment that's going to be a good place to store cash, and typically, not always, you can't have an investment that's really going to grow and also kick off consistent cash flow. You got to separate those out.
Well, I want to highlight something you just said, Kim, because, I mean, I never actually thought about this till I was sort of reading between the lines of what you're saying, but that traditional model of financial planning, if you actually think about it, I'm sure you've thought about it any number of times, but I'm only just thinking about it, is actually being taught to the financial planners by the financial institutions, by the financial industry. So obviously, whether intentional or not, they're going to slant things in their benefit. What I heard you say is that you woke up one day and said, you know what, let me start paying attention to people who actually are wealthy and what they are doing with their money, and building a program around that, so that it's for the benefit of the person's growing their wealth, not the benefit of growing the wealth of the institution. Am I falsely reading between the lines, or am I getting that right?
No, you have it exactly right, and you made two really critical points. First of all, you use the word traditional. What's interesting is the work that we do is actually traditional. Financial planning literally has only existed since the 60s or 70s, depending on what date you pick that it, quote, started. And then the second point that you made that is right on is what the financial institutions are doing. Because what they are doing with their own money is what prosperity economics preaches.
Right.
It's keeping money moving. It's creating cash flow. Financial institutions don't set up 401ks and lock up their money for 30 years.
Right.
Yet they want us to do that. And I would include the government in the, quote, financial institutions list, because the government, the banks, the brokerage houses, the mortgage companies, even to a certain degree the insurance companies, they all have their little agenda, and they want us to operate on that, and that's to give them the money and let them have control. And one of our principles is to keep the control on your side of the table. That's one of the 7 principles of prosperity.
Excellent. There is great stuff here, Kim. You know, people definitely need to stay tuned for the actual episode we shot and need to get in touch with you. We'll tell them how to do that. Let's shift gears a little bit, though. We've clearly established your expertise and that you know what you're talking about. That just kind of oozes from you. It's very clear. Let's talk a little bit about how you've been building, you know, the business. Maybe even in the earlier days of building your business. You know, we talk a lot with coaches and consultants about the need to, you know, really kind of get 3 main things if they really want to, you know, grow themselves. They need to be visible. Obviously, if you can't be seen, then nobody knows to even do business with you. You need to be credible. And like I said, we'll talk a little bit about some of the things you're doing even in this conversation that demonstrate credibility. And then you want to establish yourself as an authority in your niche area of expertise. And if you can do those 3 things as a coach or a consultant, you're in pretty darn good shape. Do those kind of resonate with the way you've been building your business?
Absolutely. And with the web today, visibility is easy. You just have to put some effort into a blog, and then the credibility part is supported by that same effort. And I'll share one other thing that we haven't had a chance to chat about that we've done that has been fabulous, and that is the writing of booklets. And I'm using the term booklet, you know, the ebook, less than 100 pages. This does not need to be a huge document. And we are using Amazon, of course, with their self-publishing arm, which is called CreateSpace.
Yep.
But even better is Kindle Select program.
Yep.
And Kindle Select, everybody knows what a Kindle is, but Kindle Select is a fabulous marketing program that's really helped us prove to our audience that we are experts. We do know what we're talking about. And it also gives them a way to check us out without having to talk to us, which people really want in today's world.
Absolutely, and for people who are Kindle people and you know, have Prime, you know, that Kindle Select actually allows them to download books for free, you know, and actually borrow from the library and get all that great information. So excellent. So you know, you're very much in line with what Chris and I talk about and teach people. So what are you doing to, you know, so you mentioned you have a blog and you're blogging. Are there other kinds of content creation that you're doing on a regular basis?
The blog and the books are the primary. I would happily do video any chance I got. I enjoy doing it. I'm pretty quick on my feet and are able, I think, to enunciate things clearly and make it obvious what we're talking about. We also have a software program that we use called Truth Concepts, and it enables us to demonstrate and prove all of the things that we're talking about. So, for example, the life insurance question that came up. Oh, you know, I've heard life insurance is expensive. Well, let's really take a look at it and prove, for example, that 4% interest rate, or prove to you that this particular cash flow is going to be consistent, or whatever it is that we need to prove. And so what we want to be doing more of is anything that can show people the numbers, because some people, of course, are very numerically oriented, whereas others would rather just have the concept. We have the whole concept content thing down, our books and our blog and the other articles that we do post on LinkedIn and that kind of thing from time to time. Where I think we could do better is on the numerical side and getting the proof out there that we have support numerical proof and support for what we're talking about.
Excellent. All right. Well, this is all good stuff, Chris. I know your brain is probably buzzing with some of the things that you're hearing in all of that. So I'm going to step back and get out of the way and bring Chris forward to the forefront here. His notes have been, visible to people all along, assuming he's not, making fun of us for, I don't know. He could be saying all kinds of wacky things about us while we're talking, Kim. I can't see it, so I'm hoping that when I watch this later, I'm not going to be like, oh my God.
No, Mark, I was checking my vast portfolio that I have. I have to keep my.
You were implementing some of Kim's principles on the fly, but so everyone saw your passwords and everything while you were typing. Okay, hey, listen, you're a trusting soul. Chris, take it away. Be our coach. Wrap us up here in terms of some nuggets, some content, some concepts that you're hearing that would be of benefit to our viewers and listeners.
Sure. First of all, Kim, great episode. For those of you who made it this far, you got to stick around a little bit further. Listen to my boring droning on for a while here, and make it to Kim's episode because she's got a lot of great advice for you. One of the things I really liked, Kim, that you said here that I want other coaches and consultants watching this to pick up on, especially, you know what, Mark, the guy in the black couch is back again. He was sleeping. He
perked up.
He perked up. I hate to say it, Mark. He kind of fell asleep while you were talking, but
hey, but it's my scintillating personality.
Exactly. And how does that make you feel? But anyway, Kim, we like Kim's smile. We like to have a lot of fun here. So, but anyway, in effect, I loved how you said that you came to the realization that that what you were hearing just wasn't right, and you took a stand. And the interesting part is there's a lot of people watching this who might be contemplating becoming a coach or consultant. Maybe they're watching this because they've heard about the coaches and the consultant lifestyle, and they're right now working in corporate America, but they're unsure of what of when the right time to make the changes. First, get with Kim and understand your investments so you can make sure you have enough big of a war chest, as a friend of mine, Dick Powell, says. Make sure what kind of war chest you have to be able to make the change. But the other time that you really need to know you need to make a change is like when Kim did. When you're in an industry, when you're in a business that you have a complete you're complete odds with, and you have a complete difference of opinion with, and you can then go out and prove that you're right. Now, Kim, I'm going to ask you real quick. I'm sure that when you at the beginning, when you thought and when you came to the realization that things weren't being taught in the right way, or that the right things weren't being taught, I'm sure you went out and did some research and some verification first before you made that leap, right?
Absolutely. I had a great time interviewing all of our wealthier clients. What have you done? How have you done it? Why did you do it? And it wasn't any formal interview. It was just normal part of conversation. And actually, even today, one of my favorite questions to ask at business functions or cocktail parties is, what's your favorite investment? And I'll even ask, where's your favorite place to store cash? Because, again, I really differentiate those two. And it's very interesting to me how people answer those questions.
Excellent. So you kind of did what was it? Was it Napoleon Hill who did the interviewing? Who was paid for, and just basically, was it 3 years or something like that, or 30 years? I forget the whole story. This is really bad coming from somebody in the personal growth industry, but close enough. A big guy wrote a nice book everybody should read. It's called Think and Grow Rich.
Clever title. Think and Grow Rich. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So excellent. So one of the things you talked about that I really want to ask you about was your blogs. In fact, they say your blogs really support your visibility and your credibility, and you've been writing booklets to gain and as we would put it, to gain authority. And I know you said that, okay, you kind of got that down. So it sounds like you developed a process for writing and a process for creating the blogs and for creating the booklets. Is that correct?
Yes, definitely. And what I forgot to mention as well are the podcasts. So we used to do radio shows. Now we do them as podcasts, and those are transcribed. And that is fodder, if you will, for our writers. But also we just brainstorm things. A client will ask a question. I'll say, oh, that'd be a great blog post. Or maybe they'll ask it on email, and so I'll spend a little more time writing the answer than I would normally, just to elaborate on it for the blog post. But then also the transcribed podcasts can then be converted into the blog post. And of course, we're also taking pieces from the book. And someday we may go backwards and use blog posts to feed a book. But we've already got a 4th book on the way. There's 3 out there now on Amazon, and 4th on the way, and 5th in my head. So those are constant things where we're creating content. And, you know, I used to be afraid of that, the whole idea of creating content. It's actually the easiest thing in the world to do. You just figure out, do you speak better or do you write better? And you do it. And you give and give and give. And then you find somebody with the opposite skill to help you out. So I speak much quicker and better than I write. So I found a great writer, and they're able to pick up. There's a couple different ones, kind of depending on what style it is we're looking for. And there's so much good work now that you can find on Elance as a team approach. And if somebody was the other way, if they were a great writer, then you get your articles out there on your blog and LinkedIn, and there's eZine articles and other places like that that we haven't used very much, again, because I prefer to do the speaking things. But creating content is actually the easy part.
Yeah, and that's so great. Especially, I'm so glad you referenced your podcast and also referenced that you transcribe them. Quick question for you, from a video standpoint. You said you love to do video. Have you given any thought to, instead of only doing a podcast, and I say only meaning limit one, kind of one medium for an audio podcast, instead of only doing an audio podcast, have you given any thought to turn that into a video podcast or into your own internet talk show or anything like that?
Yes, we have, and I love the idea, and it's something that we may pursue more thoroughly. The challenge that I find is that I really don't need people to see another talking head. I would rather, if they're going to see something, I would rather they see the truth concept software that proves the numbers, like I was speaking about earlier. And combining all of that definitely takes a team. You've got to have somebody that knows the software doing that, because you can't really talk in an engaging way with the audience and get numbers into the software as quickly as you need to. So it's a great idea. I appreciate the suggestion. We need to do more of it, and we just haven't really put muscle to the effort yet enough to pull that off. But that needs to be on our list.
Excellent. And just one question, it's because it kind of is leading me down a path here. It's kind of the way my brain works. It's interesting that you mentioned you need people to put numbers in the software, so you want people to see real-time examples. One question would be, because you're in the financial industry, are there any regulations that would prevent you from having, either doing it on your podcast or having a video, like a video internet talk show, where you could have guests on that would give you the scenarios and actually put them in and show them live on the screen at the same time?
That is a great question. To my knowledge, there are definitely some regulations, but we, to a certain degree, supersede them because of 2 specific structures that we have in place. One is that our firm is a registered investment advisory firm, and so we're not affiliated with a broker-dealer, and it's the broker-dealer restriction that normally holds down that ability. And secondly, our registered investment advisory firm, which I own, is licensed in all 50 states. So while I'm sure we'd have to have quite a bit of disclaimer of, this case study was just for this person and yada, 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 all that fine print at the bottom could be included, and we could use that as an example. I do believe that we would be cleared to do that because of those 2 existing environments, the RIA, the Registered Investment Advisory Firm, and the licensing in all 50 states.
Okay. And then one more question. Have you done that on your podcast yet? Have you brought anybody on and had them be willing to say, look, here's an example I want to give you. What would what would your advice be, or what do the numbers say from the software? Have you done that at all?
No, and that would be a great idea. When we did radio shows, we used to have call-ins and occasionally provide a live example of a specific question and answer session. We didn't, of course, back it up with the numbers, but we just handled the conceptually, whatever the concept was the client brought up. So that was very doable and easy to do, and we could add the element on the video and use the truth concept numbers with somebody's specific case.
Excellent, excellent. One of the things, just to kind of wrap that up, what I really want our viewers to take away from that is definitely when you're looking at podcasts and video casting, there's questions you should ask yourself. But just because you're in a financial industry, or just because you happen to be in an industry that's highly regulated, it does not preclude you from doing a podcast or a video cast. And I can tell you that, from watching PBS and other channels, I know there's a very well-known, which I won't mention at this point, but a very well-known financial advisor, planner, whatever the person calls themselves. Because anyway, I could get deeper and people could guess, but the whole point is I've seen specials where they do that, where they actually let people get up and ask specific questions and give them specific responses. So it's definitely something, to think about. One of the things I will leave you with is especially, you mentioned the support and the technology. One of the things is that you're right, you need to partner with good people to handle things, because it's just like the partnership Mark and I have. I mean, there's a reason why he's on interviewing and I'm doing the behind the scenes in a lot of cases, and sitting here and doing things, because it's much easier to focus on one task than it is to focus on two, which goes back to your point about money that you make, and that where most people want their money to do multiple things. And while that might be great for some people, the fact of the matter is, if you can have specific money doing specific things in specific areas, it's just like spearfishing when you're looking for a client. The more laser focused you can be, the more effective you or your money can be, right?
Absolutely. It's that everything should be working efficiently goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So, Mark, I think I'm going to wrap myself. I think I'm going to wrap myself up at this point, because I could probably have 1,000.
What are you going to wrap yourself up in, though? That's what I'm curious about.
I have to shut my camera off for that. I'm sorry. That's that would be a not suitable for work. Oh, did I let that? I'm sorry.
Okay.
Did I say that out loud? No. Anyway, Kim, it's been great. Mark, I'm going to throw it back to you for your last comments.
We'll have some closing thoughts, and then we'll have Chris actually wrap us up and get to your episode. So, Kim, excellent stuff. I love what Chris was just saying. I mean, I think to be able to do what you were talking about, the amalgam of what you're already doing and what he was talking about, to have the numbers, because you're right, there's a lot of people who are going to only feel that credibility when they see the numbers, and it's not just ideas. But then you got to bring those numbers to life, right? And so to actually have that combination of a case study sounds kind of cool. I mean, I think that would be a fun thing to explore. I love the whole system you have for content creation. I mean, of course I love it, because it kind of mirrors the systems that we use, where you're multitasking your content creation. You're thinking ahead and saying, I'm not going to just do this once and then repeat. I'm going to do something once that can be repurposed into different formats. You speak, you transcribe, you get it up on Amazon. That's 3 hits right there. So that's great. And that's something that people can definitely learn to do. So anyway, any closing thoughts on your part before I have Chris wrap us up and roll the tape, as we say, to get to your episode?
Well, I appreciate both of you. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, and it was fun to be able to share the examples, and we welcome any input and also questions. We do handle questions on the podcast. We handle them on our blog. We handle them on email all the time. Anybody's welcome to chime in with a question or a comment, and people are welcome to grab the Prosperity Accelerator Pack just to see the whole process, the idea of the opt-in and the download, and then the autoresponders, etc. And a long time ago, I was interested in somebody's business and their marketing, and I wasn't interested in the business as much as I was the marketing. And they said, well, just sign up and then do what we do. And so I would offer that to anybody as well.
That's right. Follow the blueprint. Some wise person once said that most of marketing is called swipe and deploy. You look at what somebody else is doing and you mimic it with what is going to work for you. So yeah, I mean, there's not much that's brand spanking new. There's new technology, but the principles are very, very old. As you've said, in your work, you've gone back to older principles that have stood the test of time, not the newer traditions. I like the way you rephrase that. Chris, I'm going to save myself from myself here and turn this over to you to wrap us up, get us onto the important stuff, and get us to Kim's episode.
Excellent. So first and foremost, stick around and watch Kim's episode. You're going to get a lot of great information, especially if you want if you want your money working harder than you are. I'm kind of change it a little bit, but you got to have your money working hard. And if you want to find out how to do that, go ahead and stick around and watch the episode. And if you're a coach or consultant and realize that having a piece of video content like this, which normally is valued at $375, which we're giving you for free, would be helpful, head on over to expertshowcase.com and click the big apply button. Apply to be our next featured guest, and we'll check out your application. If we feel you're a good fit, we'll get back in touch with you, and we'll have you on as a featured guest on the Expert Showcase. And finally, if you're a coach or consultant and realize that the power of video can help set you apart from your competition and help you create the visibility, credibility, and authority you need to be a success in business, then head over to VideoContent.Agency, check out our visibility, credibility, and authority packages, and see which one works best for you. Contact us. Let's see if we're a good fit to work together, and we'll take it from there. And until next time, I'm going to roll the tape.
Today on Expert Showcase, we have Kim Butler talking to us about what to do if you're working harder than your money. Well, Kim Butler, welcome to Expert Showcase. How are you doing today?
Very fine, Mark. Happy to be here and looking forward to the conversation.
Excellent. Well, you're down in Texas. We're up here in the Philadelphia area, so the marvels of internet connectivity here. So, Kim, tell me a little bit about what we're talking about. I mean, this sounds really kind of fascinating. I know quite a few people who are working harder than their money, so give us a quick overview of where we're going to go.
Absolutely. Well, it's a joy to share this wisdom because people should work hard. It's good for us as human beings, but their money should work hard too. And they shouldn't be set up for loss. There are so many places where people are losing money, and we can give some examples today. But when we can get our clients' money working harder, then it enables them to feel more confident, have a better life because they're happier, because money affects everything, whether we like it or not. And if we're going to be working hard, our money should be too.
Excellent. Well, I love this topic. I'm hoping to get some really good takeaways myself on a personal note. Hopefully the audience will as well, but I'm a selfish guy, so as long as I'm getting what I need, I'm happy, right? So we like to do things in threes on the show, and so we're going to focus on the three main takeaways for people. So let me do a quick rundown, and then we'll dig into those. So we're going to talk about finding alternatives to just storing your money in banks and money market accounts. We're going to talk about creating a more consistent investment income, and then we're going to talk about how not to lose your money. That sounds very important. So, Kim, let's take that from the top and tell me a little bit about your work when it comes to really not just storing your money.
Absolutely. So every family has an emergency fund, an opportunity fund, whatever you want to call it, cash, liquid cash. This is not an investment. This is dollars that they have available to go on vacation, to take care of the air conditioning or the heater when it breaks, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, you can have $100 in there or $100 million in there. I mean, it just depends on your family situation. But the typical problem is that people are storing this cash in banks and in money market accounts at brokerage houses. And as we all know, those accounts are paying less than 1% these days, yes, and they're taxable. And that is not beneficial. The bank and the money market brokerage house are earning more money on that money than you are. In other words, you're working way harder than your liquid money, and you still got to have that emergency opportunity fund. So we talk about how detrimental that is, how the taxes impact it, how inflation impacts it. And inflation, as you know, is a stealth tax. We go along 2, 3, 4 years, we don't feel it. All of a sudden, 10, 20 years, oh my gosh, a loaf of bread, a house, a car, whatever, costs so much more money. So this is a real problem that people have, is they don't have an alternative place to store their cash where it is growing at a rate that will at least keep pace with inflation, and even better, it's not taxed.
That sounds awesome. So are you willing to reveal at least, kind of a secret? So what's an example, though, of a better alternative where I'm not just, having it shrink, basically, if nothing else, purely to inflation, right?
Sure, I'm delighted to reveal the secret because it's over 200 years old. It's been around forever, and it's whole life insurance. And I know there's a lot of people that just immediately want to shut the off button and not even listen to the rest of this conversation.
Don't do that. Listen, there's good advice coming right now.
Well, whole life insurance is not an investment. Whole life insurance is a great place to store cash. And right now in today's marketplace, 2015, it earns around 4 or 5% without taxes. So I'm talking about whole life, the kind that's been around forever, typically from a mutual insurance company. So the type of company that's not a public company, but is mutual, meaning it's owned by its policyholders.
Right.
And the net internal rate of return after the cost of insurance, after the cost of the commissions, everybody's all concerned about the commissions the sales agent gets, after the cost of running the company, because again, these are mutual companies, the client still gets a net rate of 4 or 5%.
Wow.
And that is the better place to store cash because you get a higher interest rate so you can keep pace with inflation, and the growth is not taxed.
That is awesome, Kim. I mean, so that is obviously way better than the fraction of a percent that, you know, a savings account is going to give you if they're not hitting you with a penalty for such and such, which they invariably do. And then, of course, as you said, you've got the hole in the bucket that's draining called inflation, so your money's shrinking. Even if you're breaking even, if you miraculously had a savings account that could you know, match inflation, you're just breaking even. So that sounds absolutely fabulous. So, all right, let's move on then. So we've revealed one secret. You know, we'll talk to people in a few minutes how they can get in touch with you to learn many more secrets about these things. But let's talk a little bit about, you know, creating cash flow. You know, what are some of the things that you recommend that people understand better about that and look at about that?
So cash flow, or flow as we shorten it, is our fourth principle of prosperity. We think that people should be building assets for cash flow all along the way. And a lot of financial advisors talk to clients about this only when they're getting ready for retirement. But we believe that you need to practice. You need to have investments that are cash flowing along the way, because cash flowing investments can create car payments. It can create life insurance premium payments. It can create income to do things that you want to do as a family, like go on vacation, etc. So when we can involve ourselves in a place that gives us a consistent cash flow, and I cannot emphasize that enough, it's very difficult in the typical stock, bond, mutual fund arena to get consistent cash flow. We have the worry of the market crashes. We have the up and down nature of those investments, etc. So we like to seek out investments that provide a monthly income and also are at a decent interest rate on that monthly income, because that's the other challenge you have. The typical problem of monthly income is solved by an annuity, and you're looking at maybe 6% or 5% even in terms of a cash flow provider. But we like to get that up there in the 7, maybe even 8% range. Some of ours are even closer to the 10% range. That's per year, but then it's paid monthly. And that is what people want when they have a cash flow desire, whether they're in retirement or not.
Yeah, I mean, I always remember the light bulb going off many years ago when I you know, read Robert Kiyosaki's book and his enlightening fact that most people in the middle class, you know, think they're investing in assets when really they're investing in liabilities, and that an asset has to give you money back, otherwise by definition it's not. I was like, wow, duh, but yes, I actually never quite thought about it that way. So again, let's reveal at least one secret here, Kim. So what's an example of a monthly cash flowing investment that's going to make sense? I mean, I can think of one that I've been involved in, but you know, what do you recommend to people?
So these go by a variety of different names, but they basically all mean the same thing. Sometimes they're called a bridge loan. Sometimes they're called a first deed of trust. Sometimes they're called hard money loans. They're also called mezzanine financing because they're designed to be between things. And they're backed by a particular piece of real estate. And that term, first deed of trust, means that there is security or collateral in the form of a piece of real estate that supports that cash flow. So it's very, very difficult to lose principal. It can happen, but it's pretty rare.
Yeah.
And you get the consistency because it's somebody's mortgage payment. Now, we don't like to do these with primary residences. We typically do them with commercial property or investment property. And that's really important because if the borrower that's providing the cash flow doesn't make their payments, we can go in and quickly solve that problem, because on commercial property you can foreclose very quickly. And we use very low loan-to-value ratios. So we have the ability to get out of those properties, and they provide consistent monthly cash flow, which is what people are looking for when they want that kind of consistency and income and to be confident in it.
Right, so instead of directly investing in the piece of real estate and being the landlord and all the nightmares that people can have doing that, here you're investing funds in a real estate structure with a real protected cushion of value in there. So, you know, as you said, yes, of course, there's always risk. You could lose, but you've structured the situation so that there's a lot of safety baked in, and you know exactly what that is heading in. So I love it. That's great. Well, I think that's a great segue then to your third point, which is, of course, don't lose your money. So that would be a very bad outcome if this is my rainy day, my safety money, my money that I want to protect and grow. So what are you talking about in terms of warning people not to lose their money?
Well, losing money is one of the biggest problems people have with investment. So I want to separate out that discussion from the cash and storage discussion that we had in our first point, because you don't want to lose that money either, but typically people don't. They just lose it due to inflation and taxes. So now we're talking about investments, and the typical person is going to invest in the stock market with mutual funds or what have you, even though all the exchange-traded funds and the index funds and the target date funds and all the various hybrids that are out there. The potential is to lose money. 2008 was not that long ago.
No.
And I'm amazed at how many people have forgotten it.
They're right back to their old tricks, aren't they?
They are. There's even studies that show that we have a 7-year financial memory, and we're right at that point now. So it is so important that people do not lose money in their investments. And advisors talk about it all the time like it's normal. To me, that is not normal. I have a zero risk tolerance. I have zero tolerance for losing money, mine or my clients. And most advisors want clients to create a risk tolerance questionnaire that has numbers on it way above zero, and I do not agree with that.
Right.
So we provide investments that do not lose principal. And again, the typical reaction to that is, oh, they must be boring and not earn any money. But to me, the definition of an investment is at least double-digit returns.
Well, that sounds anything but boring. Is safe and double-digit returns sounds like something I want to pay attention to and learn an awful lot more about. That sounds really fascinating. So, yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, when you meet with your typical financial person, they have that questionnaire, and I mean, they're talking about how do you feel about losing 30% of your investment portfolio? Oh, sure, no problem. It'll come back over the 10 or 15-year horizon, right?
That is not okay.
I like the way you think, Kim. I really do. So, Kim, I'm going to wrap us up at this point, and I'm going to tell people how to get in touch with you because, I mean, clearly you very much are the expert. You're rattling these things off as if they're everyday, because they are everyday to you, and that's what people need to get connected with so that it becomes everyday thought process to them as well. So we've been talking with Kim Butler about what to do if you're actually working harder than your money is, because obviously you want to get that money doing something for you, not just kind of sitting there. So we talked a little bit about not just parking it in a bank or in a CD or in something that's giving you almost no return on your investment, that there are way better ways to do that. We talked a little bit about creating consistent cash flow and really doing that in a safe way, but in a way that gives you a much better return than most people think they can get. And then, of course, not having to have any risk tolerance, or at least very, very minimal risk tolerance, rather than what you're typically being kind of level set when somebody's kind of planting that number in your mind. Kim is here to tell you that she's got a zero risk tolerance. So if that resonates with you, here's how you get in touch with Kim. Kim, you have a website. It's called partnersforprosperity.com, right? and we're going to have that up on screen for people to have a look at. And when people go there, they can download your Prosperity Accelerator Pack. Can you tell me just real quick what that is?
Sure. So there is a ebook in there available via opt-in, just name and email only, that is about 60 pages of why financial planning has failed. And I am a former certified financial planner and dropped that designation because I so disagree with the typical methods that financial planners use. So they can get the ebook, and then of course there's a series of emails that they'll get over the course of time that actually go into these 3 things that we've talked about today quite thoroughly. And we're happy to share that information. We do work in all 50 states. We do all of our work over the phone and the web, and that enables us to help anybody. We do not have a minimum. A lot of advisors have a certain minimum of assets under management, and we do not. So we're able to help people if all they can do is save a little bit of money per month. And sometimes we can't help people, and we're very quick to identify that and try to get them some help somewhere. But we help everybody that we can, and we can do that efficiently because of our phone and web work.
Excellent. So you want to get connected with Kim Butler if you want to get your money working at least as hard as you are and not being lazy, sitting there losing its value. So go to partnersforprosperity.com. Download that ebook. Just put your name and email address in there. It's totally painless. We all know in this day and age that that's a totally safe thing to do when you're dealing with somebody with integrity, and we only have people with integrity on this show. So get connected with Kim Butler, get that free report, that Prosperity Accelerator Pack, and then get in touch with Kim and see if she can actually help you make your money grow. Kim, it's been a very enlightening but pleasurable experience having you as our guest expert today on the Expert Showcase. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
And another great Expert Showcase episode. Chris, what should people do right now?
Yeah, if you're watching this and you're a coach or consultant, imagine what it would do for you and your business if you were a guest on Experts Showcase. And here's the best part. Other than possibly increasing your business, an appearance on Expert Showcase is free. We give you a copy of your episode so you can use as marketing collateral, and we give you a coaching session to go along with it to tell you how you can best market your episode and other tips and tricks about your business. So what you want to do is head on over to expertshowcase.com, click on the big yellow apply button, and apply to be our next featured guest on the Expert Showcase. Now, if you're a coach or consultant and you've already imagined what having your own internet talk show will do for you, then we want you to head to VideoContent.Agency and check us out, check our packages out, and get in contact with us. Let's see if we're a good fit, and let's see if we're the ones to produce you and make you the next star and have your own internet talk show. And until next time, Mark, anything else?
I couldn't have said it any better, so just do what he said.